So when you hear about a creepy story that should be an urban legend, but then actually turns out to be a proper bona fide moment in history, yeah, now that's something else. In the year 1944, the small town of Mattoon, Illinois, found itself caught in the grip of a terrifying mystery. It was a quiet, unassuming place, the kind of town where neighbours knew each other by name and families gathered around the dinner table each night without fear or suspicion. But that summer, something changed. A creeping dread began to settle over Mattoon, turning the normal rhythms of life into something darker. People weren't just afraid. They were haunted by the feeling that something unseen was lurking just beyond the edges of their world. The story of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon begins on a warm evening in late August, when a man named Urban Rife was awakened during the early hours of the morning by a strange odour. He felt nauseated and weak, and suffered from a fit of vomiting. Suspecting that he was suffering from domestic gas poisoning, Rafe's wife tried to check the kitchen stove to see if there was a problem with the pilot light, but found that she was partially paralyzed and unable to leave her bed. No less than a day later, on the 1st of September, in the home of Eileen Kearney, something else happened. Her husband was away in the Navy, so her sister Martha was staying with her. That evening, Eileen noticed a sickening sweet odor, though Martha didn't report smelling anything unusual. Abruptly, Eileen's legs seemed to become paralyzed. She felt a tightness and a dryness in her throat. Alarmed, Martha called her husband Bert. When Bert got to the house, he saw, outside, a man lurking near a bedroom window. He was tall, wearing dark clothes and a tight-fitting cap. Bert gave chase, but was unable to catch him. Eileen Kearney's paralysis, meanwhile, resolved itself within 30 minutes. The next day, the town's Daily Journal-Gazette published an article, "Anesthetic Prowler on Loose," which detailed the Kearney household story. Soon other stories began to emerge. Urban Rife and his wife came forward and reported that the night before the Kearney attack, they'd both been asleep when they were awakened by a strange smell in their bedroom. Things grew stranger. A few days later, on September the 5th, a woman by the name of Belu Cordes found a small cloth on her front porch. Noticing it was still damp, she picked it up. The smell overwhelmed her. She staggered back and screamed. It was a feeling of paralysis, she reported, describing it like an electric shock. She was sick for the next 2 hours, but when the cloth was subjected to chemical analysis, no chemical traces were found. The same night, a second incident was reported, this time in North 13th Street at the home of Mrs. Leonard Burrell. She reported seeing a stranger break in through her bedroom window. But this time, the assailant was unsuccessful with his attack, and he quickly made his escape. Over the next couple of weeks, more residents of Mattoon began reporting eerily similar experiences. One after another, people claimed to have been exposed to the same mysterious gas. Each feeling the same dizzying effects, nausea, weakness, and a sense of impending doom. The pattern was unmistakable. Someone or something was targeting the town. The attacks were unpredictable. striking homes in the dead of night or in the quiet moments of the afternoon. It was as if the perpetrator was existing in the shadows, intangible and elusive. Soon the rumors began to swirl. Was it a malicious person, cloaked in secrecy and equipped with some form of chemical weapon? Was it a madman prowling the streets at night, carrying a vial that released poison into the air? Or something else, something far more unnatural? Despite the growing number of victims, no solid evidence ever emerged. Police and medical professionals scrambled to find answers, but nothing concrete ever surfaced. Some suggested it was simply mass hysteria. The fear was so pervasive that even the suggestion of a gas attack could send residents into fits of anxiety, as if the mere idea of being targeted was enough to cause real physical symptoms. But there were too many reports, too many similar experiences for that theory to hold any water. People were actually experiencing something for real. They weren't imagining it. After several days, more bizarre details came to light. A number of people claimed to have seen a figure dressed in dark clothing, standing in alleys or lurking near the edges of their properties. But these sightings were brief, almost ghostly. And in each case, the figure would disappear before anyone could confront them. As the panic in Mattoon continued to grow, the army brought in chemical weapons experts. The best hypothesis they had was that the chemical might have been chloropicrin, a poisonous gas with a sweet odor that's used for exterminating vermin. But no traces of this gas was ever found, and the reported symptoms didn't actually match its effects. Meanwhile, armed vigilantes began to patrol the town at night, looking for and hunting down what they now called the Mad Gasser. The police began assembling a list of suspects. Theories multiplied and included a disgruntled high school chemistry teacher, a violent prankster, or even an escaped Nazi or Japanese prisoner of war. A wealthy eccentric known to have a laboratory in his basement was also investigated, and police began calling psychiatric hospitals to see if any recently released patients had obsessions with poison gas. Perhaps this was some kind of twisted social experiment? Like some kind of 1940s version of Big Brother. But what made the case even more chilling was the thought that maybe the gasser was not human at all. Maybe, just maybe, the gasser was a phantom. A creature that could slip through the walls of homes, unseen, unheard, leaving nothing but fear in their wake. The very idea made the residents of Mattoon question their own perceptions of reality. People were uncertain, and the local newspapers, well, they continued to report on this mad gasser. The chilling words echoed through the streets, growing louder with each new report of a victim. The town, that had once been full of life, laughter, and family gatherings, was now a place of suspicion and dread. People kept their windows shut tight, locked their doors early. No one wanted to be the next target. And then, come mid-September, the attacks began to taper off. And by the end of the month, they'd completely stopped altogether. No one knew why. The gasser, or whatever it was, seemed to vanish as mysteriously as it had arrived. Was it a person that had just grown bored of what they were doing? Who knows? Over the next couple of years, Mattoon largely returned to normal, at least on the surface. But the events of 1944 have never been forgotten. The town still carries an eerie feeling that lingers just beneath the surface. The mad gasser of Mattoon has never been caught, and to this day, no one knows for sure what really happened. Was it a man, a woman, or something else entirely? Was it a weaponized chemical attack? A prank gone horribly wrong? Or perhaps the work of a madman, playing games with the town's sanity? Perhaps we'll never know, but the story certainly lives on. And in the quiet corners of that small town, late at night, when the wind stirs just a little too much, and the trees creak a little too loudly, the question remains, what if the mad gasser is still out there?